Welcome back to Sailing El Jaleo! We actually ended up spending an entire month anchored in New Smyrna Beach, Florida, and I thought I'd throw together like a little cruiser's guide for fellow boaters. It'll tell you where the closest grocery store is, where the free docks are, where the laundromat is, which washers and dryers to use and not use, and the shopping district and that kind of information. So, if you're interested in finding out more about New Smyrna Beach, climb on aboard and we'll take you through it. Alright, I guess we might as well get into it, so grab a drink, climb aboard, and let's get going. There are lots and lots of anchorages in and around New Smyrna Beach. Between the Ponce de Leon Inlet and New Smyrna Beach, I think I counted at least 20 different anchorages on the way, so there's plenty of room to anchor. Hundreds and hundreds of boats could stay here if they wanted to. And we decided to anchor in the big anchorage just south of the Harris-Saxon Bridge. We went down about a half to 3/4 of a mile, and we anchored just south of green channel marker 45. If you're heading north up the Intracoastal Waterway, just north of the Harris-Saxon Bridge on your port-hand side is the local dinghy dock. It is free to use, and it is limited to 5 hours in a 24-hour period. I don't know if it's enforced. I've never stayed there for more than maybe 4 hours, so I never pushed it. And I stayed there probably between 12 and 20 times for spans of up to 4 hours, and I never had an issue with my dinghy getting stolen. It didn't seem like anyone had messed with it, and I didn't hear any reports of other people having issues with their dinghies either. The dinghy dock is located at a really nice little park, and there are a couple of big black trash cans. They're in like planter bases right at the top of the dinghy dock for disposing of trash. If those are full, there are green trash cans behind the outhouses as well. Those can be used for disposing of your trash. And it's a really nice little park for walking your dogs and that kind of stuff. The grocery store that's located closest to the free dinghy dock is Perrine's Produce, and there are 2 of them in town. The newest one is the closest one, and that's at the corner of South Dixie Freeway and First Street. To get there is very easy. Right along the park is South Riverside Drive. If you just walk south down that until you get to First Street, there's only one way you can go on First Street, and that is east. If you go east 4 or 5 blocks, you'll cross the South Dixie Freeway, and there is Perrine's Produce. Very easy to find. This was a great little grocery store, and I went here at least once a week the entire time that I was in New Smyrna Beach. Their produce was unbelievable. It was always fresh, and their prices were incredible. Just for instance, like a head of lettuce was $1.29, avocados 4 for $1. I got 5 pounds of Fuji apples for $3.99. I mean, their produce prices were wonderful. Cheese, a little bit more expensive than what you'd pay like for pay at like a Walmart or something, but still very reasonably priced. Their meats were a little bit more expensive, and their dry goods were quite expensive. Like, say for instance, a bottle of salad dressing, like a Newman's Own or something, was around $6. Fresh blue cheese dressing from the deli or the cooler was around $9. So their dry goods, their processed stuff was a little bit more expensive. You could get anything you wanted there. They have, frozen foods, but if you do need to stock up and get a bunch of stuff, a lot of dry goods, it's probably not a very good spot to go. I think there's a Food Lion about 2.5 miles away. You could Uber there, and if you do need a big stock up, it'd probably save you quite a bit of money. But if you're looking for fresh veg at a great price within walking distance, this is definitely a place you'll want to check out. If you go to the northeast corner of Riverside Park, where the free dinghy dock is, you'll run into Canal Street. And Canal Street is kind of like a little shopping district. It's kind of a neat little place. They've got microbreweries, lots of places to eat, little art shops, trinket shops, that kind of stuff. And the laundromat is located not far from Canal Street. I didn't do any filming in the laundromat. It was very busy that day. It's your average laundromat, nothing to write home about. If you do get to the junction of where Canal Street meets the North Dixie Freeway, 1 block over is Julia Street, and that's where the laundromat is located. Between Canal Street and Julia Street is a Citgo gas station. You can get beer there. I'm not sure how expensive beer is in Florida, but just to give you an example, I did pick up a 24-pack of Busch Light, and that was $19.99, I think, so 20 bucks. So not too bad, and it's within walking distance of the free dinghy dock. And the laundromat, there are 2 different types of washers in there. There are your normal top-loading ones, and all of those avoid like the plague. I don't know if it's a water pressure issue or not. It must not be, because the front-load ones, they fill rather quickly, but the top-load washers all take at least an hour, if not longer, to get one load done. To fill up for the rinse cycle, it took over a half an hour for one of them to fill, just with water. So that was a little frustrating. Dryers are quick. One load in the washers, $1.75, so it's not awful. And then the dryers go by time, so every quarter is 6 minutes worth of drying time, so you don't have to put in $3, and waste some of it. You can just use whatever you need for the dryers, which is awesome. And that's maybe a little bit less than a mile away, so it's not too far. In my backpack I could get 2 loads of dirty clothes, so I went and did 4 or 5 loads over a couple of days, and it was a nice little laundromat. El Jaleo does have a 12-volt water maker, but I have yet to use it, and that's just because water is readily available in the United States, and once you put in the new membrane and start it running, you do have to run it every 4 days to stop microgrowth from forming, and I just don't use water that quickly. Like a full load of water will last me around a month, so towards the end of my stay in New Smyrna, I did need to pick up water, and I got it from 2 different locations. The first time I went into town to get water, I contacted the New Smyrna Beach City Marina, and they're just past the free dinghy dock if you're heading north on the Intracoastal Waterway. And I just called them up in the morning. I said, I'd like to dinghy in with some jerry cans and buy some water from you. And they were awesome. They said, no, you don't have to pay for it, just come on in. So I went in and I got all of my jerry cans filled up with water. I had 9 of them, so I picked up 54 gallons of water in one shot, which was nice, and just dinghied back to the boat. The second time I went to town to get water was a day or 2 before we left, and I wanted to top everything off before leaving New Smyrna Beach. And I had been using the dinghy the entire time I was in New Smyrna Beach, so I wanted to also refill the fuel jug for the dinghy. And New Smyrna Beach City Marina does not have fuel. So just a little bit further down the river, maybe a quarter of a mile past New Smyrna Beach City Marina, is New Smyrna Marina. So I went there, and there again I just brought in I called them in the morning, said I'd like to come in and buy some water and fuel from you. They said no problem. So I just took the dinghy over, and I picked up I think 36 gallons of water that day and topped off my dinghy fuel can. They didn't charge me anything for the water, which was awesome, and I got to refill the dinghy. So life is good. And we are quite fortunate that El Jaleo has a 12-foot dinghy and a 15-horse outboard, and we were able to get all 9 of our jerry cans of water filled in one shot. So you might have to make a couple of trips, and I would recommend doing it on a calm day because the waves can get a little bit rough out there on a windy day, and unsurprisingly, not even our dinghy could get up on plane with 450 pounds of water in it. So yeah, make sure you pick the right day if you do have to go in town and get a bunch of water. Overall, we really enjoyed our time in New Smyrna Beach. Everything that we needed was within walking distance, and I would definitely stay here again anytime I came through the area. And that's all we have time for this week. I hope you found some of that information interesting or helpful. I would like to give a massive shout out to my Patreon crew. Without your guys' support, I absolutely would not make these videos. And my Patreon crew is Joan and Juddy Judnick, Edwin Sauter, Val and Chris Alcorn, Denise and Eli Sackett, Joan and Jim Linbo, Sherry Erickson, Deb Shaw, and Matthew Spotten. Thank you guys so much for your support. It really means the world to me. If you are interested in joining our Patreon crew, there is a link in the description down below, and that'll take you to our Patreon page where you can sign up and you'll get to see bonus content. There's a bunch of videos and photos on there. I try and post something 2 or 3 times a week while I'm traveling to give you updates on where I am and what's going on. And you would also help support the channel, which would be awesome. And if you do like our videos, please like, comment, and subscribe. That helps us out as well. Alrighty, I hope you all are well, and we'll see you next week.